So 3 or 4 days ago, a big storm came through the area. I've talked to other grove owners, and they experienced a huge amount of fruit loss. And I'm not sure if our fruit loss was less because we had fewer fruit on the trees, or if our trees are shorter and therefore we didn't have as much fruit loss. But we did get some for sure. This is Bailey's Marvel, and there's a lot of fruit under here. I'm guessing probably about 80 fruit, maybe a little bit more. Of course, Bailey's is one of our tallest trees in the grove, and so the wind has, like more chance to affect that than the other varieties. We also saw a lot of fruit loss at the fence. We have 2 large Hayden trees and a lot of mangoes that were almost 4 inches, and then some smaller ones blew off those trees. But a few other things happened with the wind, and so let's look at that. Right over here, just a few days ago, this was much more dramatic. But the wind and the rain actually knocked a huge amount of leaves off of some of our trees. Now, because of all the dry weather that we had before, those leaves were probably going to come off anyway, but it was dramatic. There was just all sorts of freshly fallen leaves under some of the trees. And then, of course, when you get wind, there's always the risk of some limb damage. So I did notice one thing that happened across the way, so let's go look at that. Here's our main fruit punch tree, and this is the most damage that we've seen in the grove to the trees. It's a pretty significant branch, and it had a lot of fruit. It still is holding some of that fruit on the branches. Of course, it's not going to develop. But there they are. So the fruit is actually part of the reason why this branch came down. It's a lot of weight that is pulling on the branch, and then we had another factor going on. Right here, this is where the branch came out, came off of the tree, just ripped right there. But as you can see, this is an area that we have trimmed back over the years, and there was this part, it's like about 3.5 inches, that was on the tree and it didn't have any sprouts coming out of it. So this part, this cut down, it started to rot. Ideally, what I should have done when this particular part of the tree started sprouting out, that part that became the huge branch, I thought that a sprout would form from this cut, and I was wrong. The main branch was formed right here, and it became rather large. I wish that I had seen this problem and figured out what to do early on, because this rot here that was part of the reason that the big branch got blown off, this rot could have been avoided if I caught this early enough and trimmed this back when it was still like nice, healthy wood. But because there was no action in this area, no sprouts forming, it just was an opportunity for rot to get in, and the rot just started moving down the tree. So when we come back and trim this tree, probably after mango season, we're going to have to take this rot out. So probably a lot of these other tall branches will be coming down too. Well, I guess just this one and possibly this one. But you definitely want to, try and give the tree, you definitely want to try to give the tree an opportunity to heal properly, and when there's rot, it just doesn't happen. So the storm caused 3 things that we've noticed in the grove. One was some fruit drop. Fortunately, it wasn't as bad as a lot of other places around town, but it did hit us. We did get a lot of leaf drop, but in that case, those leaves were probably going to fall anyway because of the drought that we've had until just a few days ago. And the third thing was some tree damage. Now, this particular branch probably would have survived if it had been healthy wood, but when you are expecting like a big wind event, trimming, trees back, or even taking off some of the fruit will help. There have been customers who have said they lost entire trees with the storm, and that's unfortunate. This particular wind event, the thunderstorms that bring some strong winds sometimes, I wasn't really prepared for strong winds. It's one thing if you have a hurricane approaching, then you have to take drastic action. We try and trim the tallest branches off of the big trees, and the small trees are at risk also, and sometimes we'll trim those back, just reducing the number of leaves that the wind can push against. But basically, if you keep your trees shorter, there's less chance that the wind is going to damage them. Sometimes you get some damage, but a lot of times it's a good outcome for both the fruit and the tree itself.